In this video, I'm going to talk about how we understand descent in evolutionary terms. We often hear about things like common descent, descent with modification, and that something descended from another species. So I'm going to talk about exactly what we mean by that. So often we hear things like birds descended from dinosaurs, or perhaps most commonly humans evolved from chimps, or humans descended from chimps. Or here on the left are just some examples that I found on Twitter by just searching for humans evolved from chimps, and you see people using this phrase or actually discussing it. I found a thread on this on Reddit and also on Quora. So this is something that's out there in the wild. It occasionally also pops up among journalism. On the left is a reference, I believe it was from a newspaper in South Africa that used the phrase, "we evolved from chimps." I also found a travel writer who made reference to this. Do you believe in evolution, or do you think that us humans evolved from chimpanzees? So these aren't by scientists, but this is definitely indicating that this thought is generally out there. Occasionally, you'll even find students or academics writing these things. This is a paper I found online. I believe it was a kind of philosophy of psychology type paper, and again made the statement as humans evolved from chimpanzees. Saying humans evolved from chimpanzees or humans are descended from chimps can imply that our ancestors were actually chimps. So what this means is that, or what this implies, is that chimps somehow changed into or evolved into modern humans. To think through what this means, this would be that chimpanzees evolved into our other ancestors, our more recent ancestors, Australopithecus, which then changed into Homo habilis, Homo erectus, and so forth into humans. To further indicate what this means, this would imply that chimps evolved into Australopithecus, and all the chimps died out. Australopithecus changed into Homo habilis and then died out. Homo habilis turned into erectus, and so forth. However, we know this is not actually what happened. There is a process called anagenesis, which is the process of a single species gradually evolving over time. So if this is what had happened with chimpanzees and humans, we would have had a species in the past called chimps, and then we humans would actually also still be chimps. Would have simply been a species that underwent mutation and evolution over time and gradually changed into a new form. Alternatively, we could have simply called the previous species human and the current species us humans. So anagenesis does occur, but this does not indicate the relationship between humans and chimps, or human and Australopithecus, or humans and any other of the species that I have mentioned so far. The process that occurred between humans and chimpanzees is cladogenesis, which is the process of a species splitting into new species. In particular, some common ancestor, a ancestor of both chimpanzees and humans, that population split, and one of those splits evolved into chimpanzees and the other split evolved into humans. That common ancestor, sometimes in the past, indicated here by this green dot, was some kind of ancestral ape, perhaps more chimp-like than human-like, or probably more chimp-like than human-like, but we really don't know what it looked like or where it lived or who it was. We really can't definitively locate who that common ancestor was, but we can infer that it existed based on the similarities between humans and chimpanzees, particularly at the molecular level. So an accurate statement would be to say chimps and humans are each other's closest living relatives. Humans are not descended from chimps, but humans are cousins of chimps, and chimps are cousins of humans. Could also say that chimps are more closely related to humans than they are to gorillas, or that humans are more closely related to chimps than they are to gorillas. We could also say that chimps and humans share a common ancestor. Again, the phenotype of the common ancestor is difficult to reconstruct. We can make hypotheses about what this common ancestral ape looked like. Perhaps, or most likely, it was more chimp-like than human-like, but we really don't know, or requires a lot of work to infer what that would be. So, because of the process of cladogenesis, we need to be really careful when we talk about evolutionary relationships. We can't say, we usually don't mean linear relationships like gorillas evolved into chimps, chimps evolved into humans, humans descended from chimps, chimps descended from gorillas. That's not what happened. We can't describe the relationship between these organisms as a linear straight line. We need to organize this along a tree. We can indicate on a tree, a phylogenetic tree, that humans and chimps are each other's closest living relatives, and that further branching along the tree are gorillas. So there's a node here that connects humans and chimpanzees, and a deeper node back here that connects the human-chimp clade with gorillas. So the linear representation on the left is incorrect. The tree representation on the right is correct. Humans and chimps have a common ancestor. Further back, there's a common ancestor that unites the chimp-human grouping with the gorilla grouping. Similarly, we can think about the evolutionary relationships, or we need to think about the evolutionary relationships between dinosaurs and birds this way. So humans, apes, birds, dinosaurs, frogs are all tetrapods, four-limbed organisms. We're all descended from some form of tetrapod. So if we're talking about the relationship between birds and other dinosaurs, we could have a tree like this with tetrapods, winged dinosaurs, and modern dinosaurs, aka birds, because birds indeed are dinosaurs. Not all dinosaurs were birds. So deep in time, there was a common ancestor, some sort of lizard-like tetrapod. There was a split between other tetrapods and dinosaurs, and then also another split, another ancestor between winged dinosaurs and other dinosaurs, including birds. So birds did not evolve from dinosaurs. Birds are not descended from dinosaurs. Birds are dinosaurs. And if we want to represent the relationship between birds and other organisms, birds and other dinosaurs, we need to represent that relationship on a tree.